Hey friends, welcome to the channel. If you want to know what I've been up to in 340 hours learning Dutch so far, keep watching. Los geht's! My name is Dustin and I'm an IT project manager from Germany. On this channel we create content that helps us to be productive, to learn new things, especially languages, and to live a happier and more fulfilling life. Today I want to give you again a quick update about my Dutch learning. We will start with what I've done in detail, then how much time I've spent in total, how my experiences were trying to speak Dutch in real life situations, and last but not least, what the next steps are. Let's dive into... wait, I forgot something. First, a nice sip of coffee. Let's dive into today's topic. As you can see here, I've made quite some progress with my goals, but there's still lots to do. And also I've been procrastinating on the shadowing exercises, etc. Let's start first with what you can't see here, which is that I also do daily for a few minutes Anki flashcards to get some high frequency words hammered into my brain, and also phrases that I found useful journaling from time to time. I've also made already a video about that and you can find it somewhere here most likely. Now let's come to the goals that I have already achieved. I've read and listened my first book with the name Lijk in the Haarlemmer Houttuinen, which is a crime story that has been written in 1975 and plays in Amsterdam. It's quite interesting to read about how the city has been at that time and the different mentality. Of course, the world has been more unequal back then, or unequal? Not sure, unequal, unequal? If you know better, just let me know in the comments. And you'll notice stuff that you couldn't write anymore nowadays. So you have to take it with a pinch of salt and remind yourself that the times were different. Still no legitimation for that, of course. Since it has been my first book, I have read it in LingQ to ease it a bit. And then I've also listened to a book from Bill Gates called Klimaatramp, kunnen, vermijden. I couldn't find the text version, so I just listened to it. But I could understand everything, and it's about what we need to do in order to deal with the climate change and in order to slow it down and stop emitting that much CO2 into the atmosphere. I've also read and listened to a real Dutch classic that I found at LingQ called Kruistocht in Spijkerbroek by Beetje. It's about a child that travels back in time to the Middle Ages and joins the children crusade to Jerusalem in order to make sure the children are safe and don't get harmed. A super interesting read, which has quite some criticism for today's society, but also shows what's better now. Supposed to be a children's book, has it been anyway? Also for me, super interesting. Doing that and reading also other stuff, I have also achieved the 10,000 known words at LingQ. I've also read and listened through all in Beetje Nederlands podcast episodes and can really recommend them to you. You get information about the Netherlands in areas such as history, culture, food and more. And the nice thing is that you can also download full transcripts for free on the website. It's spoken pretty slow and clear, so it's a useful beginner's material. Since it's so interesting, I'm still listening to it, but now I do it at twice the speed. I think the last time I've already mentioned that I have listened and read through all the Dutch TED Talks I have found. And I've also listened through the first season of the podcast Op zoek naar seksualiteit, which is interesting talk about all topics related to sex in colloquial Dutch, but it's a bit rambly and I didn't get out of it too much, so I've stopped after the first season. Further, I've also learned 1000 Dutch words with drops, which I deem to be the most useful. This is something I always do when I learn a new language, using drops to get started. I've also made already a video about that and you can find it somewhere here most likely. Of course, I worked through the Dutch mini stories, read them once, but then listened to them 10 times each until it drove me crazy. Also super useful. If you get enough repetition of the same material, it's super effective to notice always something new and to internalize it. I've also read and listened through all the Easy Dutch videos, I've imported them as well into LingQ, and I'm still always adding the new ones and keep up with it. Super useful real-life dialogues on the street. All the Easy Languages channels are worth it and help tremendously with the learning. Last but not least, I've watched my first Dutch series called Dirty Lines on Netflix and has been super cool. I did it with Dutch subtitles and I could understand almost everything. The official description is, in the 1980s in Amsterdam, a family starts the first ever phone sex line, but being in the business of sexual desires leads them to question their own. Super cool, I can highly recommend it. It's funny, but also deals with some important topics around sexuality, relationships and society. Now, let's have a look at what I'm currently doing. First of all, working on getting the 20,000 known words at LingQ. But this happens on the side while I'm reading and listening the videos of Dutchies to be within the app, which is another goal of mine, to study them all. Great YouTube channel, by the way, I can highly recommend to have a look. Kim is very charismatic and funny, which makes sometimes dry grammar lessons interesting and fun. I'm also further improving my listening comprehension by listening to all Universiteit van Nederland podcasts about interesting scientific topics of all kinds. But they have way over 500 episodes now, so it takes some time, as you can imagine. But I'm listening each morning while driving to the sport. And I'm also using Bubble, and I've already made a video about that, like a test video, which you can find here. So I'm still using it to improve my Dutch, and I want to progress through all lessons. But I'm learning from French to Dutch, which makes it unnecessarily difficult. But stuff I start usually I also finish, so let's suffer through it. Sometimes it's hard to wrap my head around stuff, like from a Romance language to a Germanic language. But yeah, on the other hand, it's a good exercise. Further, I still need to do those shadowing exercises to work on my accent and train my speaking skills. The goal is to memorize one whole easy Dutch video, but I'm still at the beginning. So far I've memorized about 1.5 minutes and it's super exhausting. But I have to admit that this has already helped me to activate some vocabulary and to use phrases in context automatically. More on that later. I'm always tracking my time spent with languages and other stuff using a tool called Clockify. In future I might change it because there are some with better features, integrations and automations. In 2022 I've started to learn Dutch and spent around 160 hours, and in 2023 I've spent so far 180 hours, which makes in total almost 340 hours. This time I have spent doing the previously mentioned activities, which were mainly reading and listening exercises and a bit of writing and the bubble stuff I mentioned. I haven't done much speaking except when I got the occasion, but not in a teacher-student setting or so. Which brings us to the next point. My first time speaking Dutch has been on a party where I got to know some people from the Netherlands. I could only say really basic stuff and got confused quite easily. For example, someone asked me if I like the Dutch language, and I understood if I think it's hard to learn it and said no. Like, they asked me, vind je de Nederlandse taal mooi? And ik heb gedacht, and I thought, it's not mooi, but moeilijk. And moeilijk, that's difficult, and mooi, that's nice. So embarrassing. At a later party I've went to, it has been already way better. When I went to Seville in Spain for work, I've also had the opportunity to speak a little bit of Dutch. First, because I traveled over Eindhoven, which is a city with an airport in the Netherlands, close to where I live. I couldn't figure out a different way than to fly there because everything else would have taken too long and would have cost a fortune. Yeah, but there I could speak some Dutch, and then also in Seville because part of the company is Dutch, which allowed me to connect to my colleagues even better. And this has been really cool because I had some conversations for up to something like, I think 20 minutes, and nobody expects you to learn Dutch, which makes it a nice surprise for everyone. I also went with my fiancée to Amsterdam, and there I've tried to speak some Dutch. Yes, yeah, you have heard correctly, I've tried. First we did a bartender course, but the host has been French, which has been okay, then I could speak a little bit of French. And then we went to a restaurant. I eventually figured out that the waitress has been from Italy, so I spoke to her in Italian. No Dutch in Amsterdam for me. And last but not least, I've spoken to Max from Max Learns Persian and More in Dutch for a few minutes. And we also recorded it, so there will be somewhere in the future a video about us speaking multiple languages. Still need to record the other part, that we have something that each of us can upload on our channels, or on both of our channels. And yeah, those were my experiences so far, and I can't wait to make more and to really use the language. What I have recently noticed has been that I said something in conversation with Max that I have learned when doing shadowing exercises. I said, "Dat is het eigenlijk, ja." And that means that's it actually, yes. And it just came automatically without me puzzling it together or so. Shadowing really works, but takes a lot of effort and mental energy. So first of all, the comprehension, reading and listening. I'm really bad at estimating a skill level, but if we use the CEFR, the Common European Framework of Reference for Language Skills, which puts the different skills into levels from A1 to C2, I would say that my reading and also listening skills are at a B2 or maybe even C1 level, which means that I can just watch, read and listen to all kind of different stuff that is no learning content, but actually meant to be for native speakers of Dutch. Also, Dirty Lines, the series, I could have watched maybe even without subtitles. So with my comprehension, I'm really happy so far. And I'm impressed how fast it has built up. But as a German who speaks already English, I definitely stacked the deck in my favor right from the beginning. Now let's come to language production, which is writing and speaking. The official definition of B1 in speaking is: I can deal with most situations likely to arise whilst traveling in an area where the language is spoken. I can enter unprepared into conversation on topics that are familiar, of personal interest or pertinent to everyday life, e.g. family, hobbies, work, travel and current events. I think that could maybe fit. I will make many errors for sure, but I can make myself understood. That's, yeah, certain. Still, I need to practice speaking actively to get faster with the language and more spontaneous. When it comes to writing, I got maybe a B1 level as well, which is I can write simple connected text on topics which are familiar or of personal interest. I can write personal letters describing experiences and impressions. But when I'm writing, I make so many errors. Spelling of Dutch words is still a bit weird for me because it's so different, but also at the same time so similar to German. So the next steps are: I want to start writing again. I've done it for a while, but it somehow slept in a bit. So my daily journaling routine, I want to pick up again. Then it's super important for me to get that shadowing going again and actively work on getting the whole video through. This will improve my accent a lot, which is so far still very German, and also to activate some new vocabulary and phrases. The challenge is to make time for it, to sit down and fully focus on the one thing, because you can't do it when you are distracted. Also, I have to prepare my conversation script and get going speaking, at least once a week. Normally I aim for 100 hours speaking, but for Dutch I think less will already bring great results. So let's aim at 10 hours to start with, and then let's see. Of course, this won't be enough for real fluency, but I should get along. Also, it would be nice to eventually talk more regularly with my colleagues from work who are Dutch. I have heard of a weekly meeting that I could attend, which is in the morning, so I need to make the time good later in the day to get my regular work stuff done. But it would be a great opportunity to practice speaking for free. And last but not least, I would really like to learn more about the history of the Netherlands, and especially also the Dutch language. I found an interesting book that I want to read, which is Grote Geschiedenis van de Nederlandse taal, Great History of the Dutch Language. Please let me know in the comments if it was okay for you that I made this video about Dutch in English, or if I should have done it actually in Dutch. I wasn't sure, to be honest, since not everybody of you is learning Dutch. I would have, of course, provided English and Dutch subtitles in that case. I've also got more videos about learning Dutch if you are interested. And if you found the video useful, please leave me a like and a subscription to the channel. And to not miss anything going forward, click on the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and see you the next time.